it's Libra Studies back with another video. Today we'll be talking about how to prepare for your advanced placement classes and what to expect. I took 2 AP classes my freshman year and 6 AP classes my sophomore year, so I've definitely picked up some tips along the way. By the way, if you guys haven't entered my giveaway yet, be sure to do so. The link will be in the description box down below. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on what AP tests are since I feel like they are rather well known, but I just like to mention that some colleges give you credits for taking the courses, and it's also a good way of showing colleges that you're able to handle a rigorous course load. So now, on to the actual tips. Tip number 1, don't overdo it. As I mentioned earlier, I took 6 AP classes this past academic year, and I definitely wouldn't recommend that course load for most people. I passed all my APs with 4s or 5s, but I know it would have been a lot easier on myself if I had just taken even one less AP. It won't help your college resume if you took 6 APs but you didn't do well on any of them, so make sure you take a course load that's manageable for you. Still though, don't be afraid to challenge yourself every now and then. Tip number 2. Take APs in classes you're interested in. For me, this was in Spanish. I was at a disadvantage because most of my classmates spoke Spanish as their native language and I didn't, but I was willing to put in the extra effort to make up for that. APs are tremendously easier to deal with if it's related to something that you're interested in. Tip number 3, use online resources. Crash course videos are honestly a really good resource, but I do think that they don't work for everyone. There's a lot more resources out there if you look for them, and a channel to watch on YouTube for nearly every AP out there, so definitely try and check them out. For example, one channel that helped me tremendously with my AP biology course is called Bozeman Science. He had a playlist for the AP biology test and flashcards that you could print out and write on to take notes, and they aligned with each video he did. So make sure to take full advantage of online practice tests and websites created by teachers. You never know what you might find. Tip number 4 would be to take the SAT subject test. So oftentimes there's a matching SAT subject test for certain APs. For example, there's an SAT biology test and a SAT world history test, and there's also AP courses for that. And many of you guys have probably taken those. And the content in these overlap quite a bit with content that you would learn in an AP course. I would still recommend doing SAT subject test preparation since they are rather different in the format and the style of the questions, and some of the content varies a little, but I do think it's a huge advantage, especially if you just finished taking a course in the subject test. And so for this reason, I also recommend taking a matching subject test for an AP you took in June, since the content will be fresh in your head. And if you don't do well in June, then you could study over the summer, continue studying that content, and then take the subject test in October. Tip number 5 is related to time management. So this is especially crucial if you're going to be taking on a huge course load of APs like I was, and I just have to say it's really easy to get burned out, which is why this tip is so important. I ended up on this terrible sleep schedule where I slept 3 hours in the afternoon and 4 at night, and it was extremely unhealthy. And the workload I got wasn't even that terrible, but I just didn't keep up with it, and it caught up to me in the end. So if you have issues with time management, definitely check out some other videos on that on YouTube. Tip number 6 is that review books can be your best friend. So I know sometimes teachers can be difficult or don't teach in a method that works for you, which is why books are always a great source. Many people recommend Princeton Review or Barron's, but for history classes, I actually really like the books produced by AMSCO and the AP Achiever series. AP Achiever's right here, AMSCO's right here. AMSCO books actually seem to match the content in AP tests almost perfectly, at least from my experience with them, but I've only used AMSCO books for history, so I can't really speak about anything else. Tip number 7 is just related to what to expect. So honestly, in my school, AP classes aren't as hard as they're always worked up to be. For the most part, the coursework is about as manageable as just taking honors classes. AP courses are just difficult typically because they cover a really wide range of information that you have to know, but they're not impossible, and I have confidence that all of you can do well in them. Don't let this test scare you. Tip number 8 is about what this all boils down to at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, this is just a class. It's amazing if you do well, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. You can still go to a great school without having straight 5s on the APs or straight A's in your AP classes. Use these classes as an opportunity for growth and challenging yourself. That's all the tips I have for today. But if you're interested in what classes I took, I'll list them down below in the description box. As always, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. See you guys next time.